Shadows of the Desert. Chapter 1, The Awakening. In the heart of Tucson, Arizona, where the scorching sun reigned supreme, a pack of vampires lurked in the depths of the desert. Born from ancient bloodlines, these vampires possessed an uncanny ability that set them apart from their nocturnal kin. They could strike and kill during the daylight hours, defying the traditional weaknesses of their kind. For years, they had remained hidden, their existence mere whispers among the townsfolk. But now, a dark hunger surged within them, urging them to leave the arid wasteland and venture into the city where their prey awaited. Lucius, the ancient and cunning leader of the vampire pack, felt the weight of the impending change. He had witnessed the devastation wrought by his kind in countless cities, but this time, something was different. The desert had infused them with newfound power, granting them immunity to sunlight. As they emerged from their underground lair, Lucius sensed a sinister destiny unfolding, one that would shake Tucson to its core. Chapter 2, The First Victims. The sun hung high in the sky, its merciless rays scorching the pavement of Tucson. The pack of vampires, led by the formidable Lucius, prowled the streets with predatory grace, their bloodlust driving them forward. They targeted those who strayed too far from the safety of shade, unaware of the lethal danger lurking under the scorching sun. In a matter of days, the city was thrust into a state of panic as the bodies began to pile up, drained of life and marked by fang-inflicted wounds. Fear spread like wildfire among the citizens of Tucson. Rumors of a vampire infestation circulated, shrouding the once bustling streets in a veil of terror. Panic-stricken individuals became prisoners of their own homes, seeking refuge behind closed doors and drawn curtains. The pack reveled in the chaos, savoring the primal fear that pulsed through the veins of their victims. They moved swiftly, leaving no trace of their presence behind, and with each kill, their hunger only grew stronger. Chapter 3, The Call for Help. As the death toll rose and the city teetered on the brink of despair, the local authorities realized they faced an enemy unlike any they had encountered before. Chief Maria Ramirez, a respected and resilient leader within the Tucson Police Department, summoned her top officers for an emergency meeting. In a dimly lit room, she conveyed the urgency of the situation, her voice steady despite the turmoil that engulfed the city. Detective Jack Reynolds, haunted by his own demons, listened intently as Chief Ramirez outlined the gravity of the vampire threat. With his sharp instincts and unwavering determination, he was chosen to lead the newly formed vampire hunting unit. Ramirez had handpicked the best officers in the department, men and women who had seen it all, who knew the shadows of Tucson better than anyone else. Together, they would devise a plan to protect their city from the encroaching darkness. Chapter 4, Sunlit Shadows. Detective Jack Reynolds, burdened by the weight of his own past, knew that the battle against the vampire pack would require a unique approach. The vampire hunting unit was equipped with specialized weaponry, crafted by brilliant minds in the field of supernatural research. Sunlight-resistant bullets, infused with holy water and blessed by local priests, were distributed among the team. Each officer was armed with UV flashlights, capable of emitting an intense beam of concentrated ultraviolet light to weaken the vampires. Under the scorching Tucson sun, the vampire hunting unit embarked on their first mission. They patrolled the deserted streets, their eyes scanning for any signs of the elusive pack. The city appeared eerily quiet, as if nature itself held its breath in anticipation. Suddenly, a blood-curdling scream shattered the silence, followed by the sound of rapid footsteps echoing through the alleyways. The unit sprang into action, racing towards the source of the commotion. As they arrived at the scene, they discovered a young woman, pale and trembling, her eyes wide with terror. She recounted her harrowing encounter with the vampires, describing their inhuman speed and insatiable thirst for blood. Detective Reynolds' heart sank at the sight of her fear-stricken face, fueling his determination to protect the innocent from these monstrous creatures. Chapter 5, Shadows Unleashed. The vampire hunting unit faced an uphill battle as they delved deeper into the city's darkest corners. With each passing day, the vampires grew bolder, taking advantage of the chaos and confusion that gripped Tucson. They struck in broad daylight, exploiting their newfound ability to feed without hindrance. The streets became a battleground, with officers tirelessly tracking down leads and engaging in deadly confrontations with the vampires. The vampires, cunning and intelligent, adapted to the police's tactics, making them a formidable adversary. They began employing diversionary tactics, luring officers into traps and disappearing into the shadows before reinforcements arrived. It was a cat-and-mouse game, with the hunters becoming the hunted. Detective Reynolds, driven by a mixture of vengeance and a desire to protect the city, refused to yield. Chapter 6, Unearthing the Ancient. As the battle raged on, Detective Reynolds delved deeper into the history of the vampire pack. The local archives revealed stories of an ancient curse that plagued the desert region for centuries. Legends whispered of a vengeful vampire coven, banished to the arid wasteland by powerful forces seeking to contain their malevolence. These vampires, now reawakened, carried within them the remnants of that ancient curse. Driven by curiosity, Detective Reynolds sought out the assistance of an enigmatic historian, Dr. Evelyn Monroe, known for her expertise in occult lore. Together, they pieced together fragments of forgotten tales and deciphered ancient texts, unearthing the key to defeating the vampires. It became clear that a mystical artifact, the Amulet of Solara, held the power to neutralize the vampire's ability to survive under the sun. Chapter 7: The Final Confrontation. Armed with the knowledge of the amulet's significance, the vampire hunting unit embarked on a perilous quest to secure the artifact. Under the cover of darkness, they infiltrated an abandoned underground chamber, said to be the resting place of the amulet. The air grew heavy with anticipation as they navigated treacherous traps and confronted ancient guardians, their determination unyielding. As the first rays of dawn illuminated the horizon, Detective Reynolds held the Amulet of Solara in his hands, feeling its power surge through his veins. He knew that the fate of Tucson rested upon their success in using this ancient artifact against the vampires. With renewed determination, the vampire hunting unit raced back to the heart of the city, ready to face their formidable foes. The pack of vampires, sensing the imminent threat to their existence, gathered their forces for a final assault on the city. Their crimson eyes gleamed with a mixture of bloodlust and desperation as they descended upon Tucson, their fangs bared in anticipation of the feast that awaited them. The streets became a battleground, filled with the clash of steel against fangs and the crackling sound of UV flashlights piercing the darkness. Detective Reynolds, armed with the amulet, led the charge against Lucius and his bloodthirsty minions. The ancient vampire, a creature of immense power and cunning, met Reynolds' gaze with a mixture of arrogance and malice. It was a battle of wills, a clash between the forces of darkness and those who fought to preserve the light. Chapter 8: The Sun's Redemption. With the Amulet of Solara clutched tightly in his hand, Detective Reynolds channeled its energy, harnessing the power of the sun itself. The amulet radiated a brilliant light, piercing through the shadows that cloaked the vampires. The once mighty creatures of the night recoiled, their bodies writhing in agony as the sunlight burned their flesh. In a final, desperate attempt to regain control, Lucius lunged at Detective Reynolds, his fangs poised for a lethal strike. But the detective, fueled by a mix of adrenaline and determination, summoned all his strength and thrust the amulet forward. A blinding beam of sunlight erupted from the artifact, engulfing Lucius in its searing radiance. As the vampire leader disintegrated into ash, a wave of energy rippled through the remaining vampires, rendering them powerless. One by one, they fell, their reign of terror coming to a cataclysmic end. The city of Tucson, though scarred and haunted by the recent horrors, breathed a collective sigh of relief. Chapter 9: Shadows Dissipated. With the threat eradicated, the vampire hunting unit continued their efforts to restore normalcy to Tucson. The city slowly emerged from the shadows of fear, reclaiming its vibrant spirit. Memorials were erected to honor the victims of the vampire attacks, a solemn reminder of the price paid for their triumph. Detective Jack Reynolds, hailed as a hero, returned to his duties with a newfound purpose. The experience had forever changed him, instilling in him a deeper understanding of the forces that lurked in the darkness. The vampire hunting unit, now battle-hardened and revered, remained vigilant, ready to protect their city from any future threats that may rise. And so, the story of the pack of vampires that thrived in the deserts of Tucson, Arizona, faded into the annals of history. But the whispers of their existence remained, a cautionary tale reminding the world that even in the harshest of environments, darkness can thrive.